From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Every December, we sit down with Governor Gina Raimondo for a year-end interview. This year, the assignment went to my colleague, Eyewitness News reporter Kim Kalunian. Here's Kim's interview with Governor Gina Raimondo.
Governor, thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Holidays.
Happy New Year.
Yes, soon.
It's hard to believe that 2019 is already coming to a close.
I know.
Been a busy year. It seems to have gone by really fast. Looking back on it, what do you think your biggest accomplishment has been?
In 2019?
Yeah.
Last year, God, there have been a few big ones that I'm really pleased with. I'm very excited about the new development in Pawtucket. It's the biggest economic development project ever in the history of Pawtucket. And when the Paw Sox left, people were down in the Blackstone Valley, and I said, listen, we've got your back, we're going to keep working, and we've delivered. So I'm very excited about that. I'm excited we've started to expand all-day public pre-K. That's a big deal. You know, as a mother with two little kids, I saw the benefit for my kids of having pre-K. We need universal public pre-K, and last year we set the state on that path. We're hardly there, but I'm excited we got going. And then the other big thing was we really kind of cemented the Affordable Care Act in Rhode Island. We instituted the individual mandate on a state level. We're one of only 3 states who have done that. I worked with the legislature to make that happen. That's huge, because what that means is premiums, health insurance premiums on the exchange are going to be low and stay low. So, you know, it was a busy, busy year. As we were talking before we started, there's a lot to do, and I feel good about what we did.
On the Pawtucket redevelopment, one of the big question marks this year has been Hasbro's future. Will they stay in Rhode Island? Will they leave? Will they stay in Pawtucket? With this redevelopment now on the table, have you had any conversations with the folks at Hasbro about maybe being a part of that?
Being a part of that. I've mentioned it to them. You know, they know my view, which is that they were founded in Rhode Island, they belong in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island's been very good to them. And if they want to stay where they are, fine. If they want to be part of this new development, we would love for that to happen. So I talk to them frequently. By the way, I try to have good relationships with all the big businesses in Rhode Island, big employers. From what I can tell, they're focused on other things right now. They just made a big acquisition. Their business is changing with Toys R Us going out of business. I'd be surprised if they're going to make any announcements anytime soon as it relates to real estate changes. But I'm always talking to them, because what I say to them is, if you want to make a change, promise me I'm the first phone call. Like, give us a chance to make sure you stay in Rhode Island. And they have said, absolutely.
On the other side of the coin, along with biggest accomplishments, do you have any big regrets at the end of this year?
Yeah, of course. You know, I am really disappointed that we were not able to get the legislature to ban high-capacity magazines and assault weapons. I mean, it makes no sense to me. It just makes no sense why other states can do it and other Rhode Islanders can feel, and other people in other states can feel safe, and Rhode Islanders don't have that same feeling of safety. And so we'll go back at it again next year and the year after that if we need to. But obviously, that was a big disappointment. And also, personally, something I spent a lot of time on was trying to get our hospital systems to combine. And of course, that was not successful. So I'd say that was a regret. I'm still hopeful on both of those things. I'm not giving up. You stay at it. You stay hopeful. I wish at the end of this year I could have said to you, you know, I was able to get everybody to the table, and we have a unified Rhode Island local academic medical center in the works, and also that we've banned assault weapons in Rhode Island. So we'll go back at it next year.
On the hospitals front, you know, we just sat down with Dr. James Finale. Ted Nesi just spoke with him, and he said, look, I'll be willing to come back to the negotiating table if partners in Boston is part of the conversation. Is that something that you would encourage, the major Massachusetts hospital system coming and sitting down at the table with Lifespan and Care New England?
You know, here's how I think about it. They decided, partners decided to leave. Like they pulled out. And I understand that. That's their decision. The truth of the matter is Care New England has millions and millions of dollars of capital needs. And it's becoming a problem. You know, elevators that don't work, maintenance. Ask any of the people that work in these hospitals. The buildings are tired. They need capital investments. And I think partners said that's a very big bill. And so what they're doing now is they're kind of having their cake and eating it too. They're affiliating in some ways with Care New England without writing the big check for the capital. What I had hoped to have happen was a locally run, you know, locally governed, integrated academic medical center with Lifespan, with Brown, with Care New England. And I still think that's the right solution.
What was the sticking point? What happened to the negotiations? I believe there was a letter that was leaked from your office that said Dr. Finale wanted to be the head of it, and was that the ultimate?
Yeah, you know, no, I have not. We all took a pledge to maintain confidentiality, and so I do want to respect that pledge because I hope to get the parties back to the table. But since that letter was leaked, I mean, yes, that was one of their. I thought Lifespan and Brown had a very interesting proposal on the table, but the folks at Care New England insisted that Jim be the CEO, and that was really a non-starter.
But something that you would encourage them to come to the table again, maybe in the new year?
Absolutely. I still think it's the right, I still think it's the right solution. Rhode Islanders shouldn't have to drive to Boston for their health care. We want to attract the very best and brightest physicians. Here in Rhode Island, we should be able to do that. Brown's medical school is getting better and better. You know, Brown is putting more investments into research. We have fantastic doctors in Rhode Island. We have everything we need to have a top-notch, integrated, local academic medical center. By the way, that doesn't mean if you have cancer and you're Rhode Islander, you shouldn't go to Dana-Farber. You know, of course you should. Of course you would. But it does mean we have to prioritize making our own system as strong as it can be. And I think integrating locally is a good thing to do. We may decide down the road, go affiliate with a Boston-based entity. But let's get our own house in order first to strengthen what we have here.
One of the things I wanted to ask you too about the hospitals, sort of connected to the budget, one of the things they've said over and over again is the Medicaid and Medicare reimbursement rates are not enough to keep up with their costs. Will you consider including in your budget a change in that rate to help these hospitals, not because they're hospitals, but also because they're some of the state's largest private employers as well?
So first of all, they're right. They're low rates, and it's a challenge. Medicare is thoroughly out of my control. It's federally set, and Rhode Island gets a raw deal. We have, anyone who knows anything about healthcare, ask our federal delegation, ask anyone. Medicare rates in Rhode Island are, I think, lower than they should be, lower than in other places in the region, and I would do anything I could to try to change that. Medicaid rates are also low. You know, I can't deny that. And we tried, last year, the legislature and the state was able to give them a substantial increase, almost 7% of an increase. Can we do that again this year? I don't know. If I could, I would. We also have a deficit. We're running a deficit ourselves, and so, like everything, it's a balance, and we do the best that we can.
A $200 million deficit.
Yes, it's a big hole.
You told Ted Nesi and Tim White you're going to have to make some tough choices. Is this the year that people will see sales taxes, income taxes go up?
I hope not. I hope not. Again, at this point, everything's on the table, and it will absolutely be a balance of cuts as well as revenue and, frankly, investment. We can't get out of the business of investing. You know, one of the things I'm really pleased with is in the time I've been governor, we've been investing. We've been building roads, building schools, building bridges, attracting businesses to Rhode Island, building new commercial development. You see it, you know, right out here in Providence and in other places. Opening a new engineering school at URI, making improvements to CCRI. We've got to invest so we can be prosperous. So all of which is to say, if you want to invest, which we have to do, you're also going to have to look for revenue and find cuts, difficult cuts. So I'd say everything's on the table. I haven't made final decisions, but I would very much like to avoid increases in sales taxes or income taxes.
Some of the difficult cuts, I think, would include those being made at the Veterans Home already.
Yes.
My colleagues Eli Sherman and Tim White have been following this very closely, first reporting about the fact that family members can no longer eat with the veterans at the home.
Well, they can, but we're just not paying for the meals of the family members.
Correct. A change in that policy.
Yes.
And now the veterans can no longer have physical or occupational therapy on site that's covered. Some of the veterans are saying their physical health is deteriorating because of this, and it's an estimated, I think, $600,000 in savings.
Yeah.
Is that worth it?
You know, let me just say this is brutal. Like, this is the absolute worst part of our job, my job. Because you sit down and you hear from all the different departments. You know, think about what we do. We take care of the mentally disabled, the physically disabled, abused children, provide health care for the poorest and most vulnerable, take care of our cherished veterans, and it's brutal to make cuts to any of that. I'll be very honest. The Veterans Home, the home, to be very honest, was built, it's more expensive to maintain than I think folks knew at the time. And so when it was built, and by the way, I'm very excited that it was built because it's beautiful, you've been there. You know, the estimates that folks in the state made at the time around how much it would cost to clean it and how much it would cost to maintain it were just unrealistically low. Like, it's more expensive to maintain a bigger building than was realized. So we have to get real about that and realize it costs more money. I will say I'm disappointed in the management at the Veterans Home. They could be doing a better job. Not the employees, the management. And so I've put a team in there, including General Callahan from the National Guard, to say, come on guys, we can do better. Veterans deserve better. And what they're doing is they're looking at homes in other states, nursing homes and assisted living facilities in the private sector, and saying, how can we humanely cut costs in ways that are consistent with other states and still do right by our veterans? And so that's what they are doing. I wish we didn't have to do any of it, but at the end of the day, I want the home to be there for veterans. And so we're going through the whole list and doing our best.
Do you think the cuts that have been made, the way that the cuts have been made so far, are the best course of action, these meals and this physical therapy? You
know, these two that you mentioned, obviously I'm not in there going line by line. Those are pretty typical, I will tell you. Of course, veterans can absolutely still get their physical therapy. And can be transported to get that physical therapy. It's just that the therapy is not being brought into them.
That's Governor Gina Raimondo with my colleague Eyewitness News reporter Kim Kalunian. When we come back, that interview continues, including the governor's thoughts on her political future. Stay with us. You're watching Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. We continue our year-end interview now with Governor Gina Raimondo. Here's my colleague, Eyewitness News reporter Kim Kalunian.
The Transportation Climate Initiative, we got a little bit more information on that today. We're taping this on Tuesday. Its website describes it as seeking to improve transportation, develop the clean energy economy, and reduce carbon emissions. Rhode Island is part of the conversation for the TCI, but some people say it's just a gas tax. Is it just a tax on gasoline?
No. No, look, a huge percentage of our carbon emissions, 40%, comes from transportation. So even though we focus, myself included, we focus on wind, solar, electricity, that's all great, we can't save this planet if we don't deal with the carbon emissions from cars and trucks on the road. So if you want to save the planet, as I do, and if we all want to do our part to deal with climate change, you have to get real about transportation. So that is going to take some investment. We need new kinds of technology. We need to electrify our trains. We need more trains. We need, electric vehicles. And so will there be a tax associated with the Transportation Climate Initiative? Almost certainly. How big, how it's imposed, what the money will be used for, that's all, we're early. As you say, Rhode Island's in the conversation. But there will be a cost imposed, and then every dollar will go into new inventions, innovations, and changes to bring down our carbon emissions. By the way, I think it'll make our lives better. Not only will it make our lives safer and cleaner and better, but wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to drive your car to work? Like, wouldn't it be great if we had better trains, electric trains, more vehicles, more transit, more buses that are electrified? So I'm excited to be a leader in the discussion.
You said, wouldn't it be great if there were electric buses, electric trains? We don't have those things widely available, certainly, yet. So for the people who are out there trying to get to work, trying to live their lives and fill up their gas tank, they're going to say, you're just pulling more money out of my pocket.
I hear that. I do hear that, and that's why I am extremely sensitive to that. I have cut taxes since I've been governor. Cut small business taxes on a number of occasions, cut the car tax, cutting taxes. I don't want to burden Rhode Islanders. We need to save the planet. You cannot fight climate change and ignore transportation. So it is what it is. We have to get more serious about it. And I'm going to do everything I can to find these solutions to save our kids and to save us, and limit the cost on Rhode Islanders.
I want to talk a little bit about your political life. 2019 was the year that Morning Consult ranked you the least popular governor in the country. There have been some questions about their methodology, but when you see that headline, does it give you pause and make you wonder why so many Rhode Islanders are not on board with your style?
No. I won by a bigger margin than anyone in a very long time. I'm the first governor in decades to win with the majority of the vote. So Rhode Islanders are behind me. Like an out-of-state online poll, I don't look at that at all.
So you totally dismiss it, think it's false?
I don't think about it. I mean, Rhode Islanders spoke last year. I was excited. We won with 50+% of the vote and a huge margin. So I care about Rhode Islanders. Rhode Islanders showed up, they had a choice, they voted. I have a mandate to continue the change that we've been bringing. And like I said, an out-of-state online poll, no, I don't pay attention to that.
But I know you're out there talking to folks. I'm sure not everyone, has.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure there's criticism. So, how do you respond to that? How do you digest that at night when you put your head on the pillow? How do you say, how do I improve?
Oh, okay, that's a completely different question. If I meet people in the community who say, hey, Gov, you could be doing a better job on DCYF or paving the roads faster or our public schools, I have all the time in the world for that. Then let's sit down, let's talk about it. How can I get better? How can we do a better job? That kind of stuff I think about all the time. And that just, we're just constantly trying to get better.
Your national profile has risen. You served as the chair of the DGA this past year. You were just ranked 13th on the list of the Washington Post's possible vice presidential picks. Have you had any conversations with the Democratic candidates for president about joining them on the ticket?
Yeah, no, I have not. I've talked to most of the folks running and have good relationships with all of them. I've never met with or spoken to Bernie Sanders, but everyone else I know. No, it is much too premature to have those discussions, and as I've said to you and everyone else, I have 3 more years of my job here, and I intend to stick it out.
But if someone approached you and said, would you consider being my vice presidential candidate, would you consider it?
I think you have to take these meetings, but it is not my intention. I don't want to do it. I'm totally happy doing what I'm doing.
So we're not going to see Gina Raimondo's name on the 2020
That's right.
ballot?
Exactly. Right.
Okay,
exactly.
fair enough. Also in the political realm, the Democratic Party Women's Caucus, Women's Caucus. These women say that the Democratic Party in the state of Rhode Island is a boys' club. You are the top Democratic figure in the state, and a woman. Why are women within your party feeling so disenfranchised?
So I think they have some reason to feel that way. Rhode Island's an interesting place. The governor is not the head of the party. You know, obviously the legislature, the Speaker of the House runs the Democratic Party. So I think they have felt, you know, they weren't given a place to meet. There are different things they haven't felt embraced. And right or wrong, you know, there's 2 sides to every story, and I don't have really anything to do with the party, but they feel that way, so we should listen to them. I mean, here's what I know. We need women to feel that there's a place for them at the table, because there should be, because we have to listen to them. And I think we have to do a better job in general of giving women a seat at the table. By the way, that's not just in the party, that's everywhere. You know, that's in our jobs, in our giving women opportunities for promotions, girls an opportunity to get in the game. They have a voice, we should be listening, and we have to do a better job everywhere in all of our institutions to be more inclusive and diverse. I heard President Obama talking the other day, and he said something to the effect of, hey women, you're not perfect, but I do know if we had more women leaders, things would be unequivocally better. I tend to agree with that. And what I know for certain is if you have diversity around a table, you will make better decisions. And that includes giving women a seat at the table. So we have to do a better job.
It sounds like you might be laying the blame, at least partially, on House Speaker Mattiello for setting the tone in the party.
All I'm saying is, he's the head of the party, he runs the party, and if this caucus feels that they don't have a place at the table, we ought to take that seriously, him included, and figure out what can we do better. Because the last thing the Democratic Party can afford to do right now is to shut out half of the voting bloc.
I wanted to ask you about the past decade. In 2009, you were still in the private sector.
Yeah.
And you were considering a run for general treasurer, which we all know how that worked out. What would 2009 Gina Raimondo think of 2019 Gina Raimondo?
Look, it's been, for me, a decade of service. For me, it's been a decade of service. About 10 years ago, I left the private sector and the comforts that afforded me and my family, and I chose a life of service. And there's been ups and downs, and good and bad, and lessons learned, but all in all, I've tried at every step to do the right thing for the right reasons, and I think we've made a lot of progress for Rhode Island.
And finally, any New Year's resolutions?
I'm not a big resolution person, but you know, look, we talked before, like, people come to you, you don't want to let people down. You know, like you were asking before, what if people say, you could do this better, you could do that better. I mean, I tried to raise the minimum wage last year, I didn't get it done. Legislature wouldn't do it. I've heard from people on that. They need a little raise. You know, they need to be able to live. that weighs on me. When you try, we talked about the assault weapons ban, we talked about the hospitals, there's so many things. You try, you can't get it done. The resolution is to get back up January 1st and keep pushing and stay hopeful. I'd say, like in politics now, it's hard. It's hard. It's divisive, it's angry, there's negativity. Keep the faith. You just have to keep the faith and keep pushing and keep going and just do your best every day.
I want to thank my colleague, Eyewitness News reporter Kim Kalunian, for her interview with Governor Gina Raimondo. If you've missed any of it, it's online, WPRI.com. I hope you all have a happy and safe new year, and we'll see you next week on Newsmakers.